There we go. Hey, what is going on, fellow YouTubers and fellow stream viewers? This is Heath Nation 2465, and welcome to episode 46 of the Berserk and Nasty podcast. This is going to be a short one tonight because I got stuff to do later, and I probably won't be live until maybe tomorrow at the earliest. So we're going to go through some stuff. So college football's been really hectic. I've been trying to get this stream out for the longest time. I've just been caught up in doing other shit. A lot to cover from Rivalry Week. We'll go over the scores real quick, and then the rankings, and a big story that makes me seethe. I'm just going to fucking put it at that. So, Indiana, of course, no doubt about it, shitting on Purdue. Texas A&M looked like they were going to win, and then Arch Manning pulled off a comeback to win that game by 10, I should say. Georgia wins a close battle against Georgia Tech. Ole Miss wins the Egg Bowl. Oh, we'll get to that, don't you worry. And Arizona beat Arizona State. And the game. It looked like Michigan was going to get the upper hand real early in the game, but Ohio State stood strong, and they come out with their first victory in 3 to 4 years against Michigan. 27-9. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of it right now. Been a long day at work. Miami defeated Pitt 38-7. Alabama stood strong after a late comeback from Auburn to win the Iron Bowl 27-20. Notre Dame wins their game. BYU wins their game. Vanderbilt defeated Tennessee. Virginia is still holding strong by defeating their rivals in Virginia Tech. Cal with the upset victory over SMU on a missed field goal in the last seconds of the game. And let's see, do we got anything else here? Nothing really of note. Alright, with all that out of the way, we're going to do something here. Put that on 15. So we got some games here, but first things first, let's look at the rankings. Ohio State and Indiana going in number 1, number 2 in their championship game. Georgia holding firm. Texas Tech have sprung back into relevance for the first time in a long time. Oregon is up in the top 5 finally. Ole Miss is number 6. The loss that Texas A&M suffered dropped them from number 3 to number 7. Oklahoma's holding strong at number 8. Alabama number 9. Notre Dame is somehow number 10, despite losing against 2 ranked opponents to start the season. BYU, number 11. They're technically the first team out of the playoffs due to the new format. Then you got the Miami Hurricanes, Texas, Vanderbilt, Utah, USC, Virginia. The ACC leaders are in number 17. That is your 4th conference. And then Tulane is the highest out of the group of 5 that are in the format right now. Right behind them is North Texas and James Madison. But there's one team on this list that we need to talk about. Little Horton here's a who, so to speak. Let's talk about this, guys. Let's talk about Ole Miss. I know I'm a little bit late to this party. Let's talk about Lane Kiffin. So it was rumored throughout the last 2 to 3 weeks that Lane Kiffin could potentially be leaving Ole Miss to pursue a coaching job in other SEC schools. Specifically, there were 2 schools in particular. LSU and Florida. Florida got shut down instantly, and then LSU kept being brought up. And he was being very, very secretive about it. He was being very vague. Didn't really talk about anything. And the news just drops like an anvil. After he had just won the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State, he kept deflecting and all this other shit. And then, next thing you know, he's on a plane to LSU. This is from ESPN. Last month, as some of the biggest college football brands pursued Ole Miss Lane Kiffin, a staff member polled the team's assistant coaches about where they wanted to be in 2026. Remain at Ole Miss, leave for Florida or LSU, or take over Florida State. All 3 of those options seemed fair. According to people with knowledge of the search, was making a stealth move to poach Kiffin. Keep in mind, Kiffin had been very secret about this. Defensive coaching staff, led by coordinator Pete Golding, preferred to stay at Ole Miss, which is on the verge of its first 11-win regular season and CFP appearance. All but one offensive assistant wanted to leave for either Florida or LSU, which historically had enjoyed more success than Ole Miss, but had fired their coaches after their team struggled this season. That meeting was indicative of the divided loyalties and uncertainty that define one of the most compelling coaching searches in college football history, which threatened not only to derail the Rebels' historic season, but also captivated fans on 3 SEC campuses and around the country. He finally agreed to be LSU's coach, abandoning an Ole Miss team that is 11-1 and holds a number 6 spot in the CFP Selection Committee's latest rankings. I just... this is just bullshit. I never was a big fan of Lane Kiffin to begin with. I always thought he was a piece of shit. But it's one thing to leave a team, right? You get a throwaway bowl game, what have you, right? You're on the cusp of a college playoff appearance. You basically have it locked in. So why would you want to screw over your own legacy even more than you already have because of your stint with the Raiders and everything else that goes in between in your other roles in different college programs? But yes, you literally, the golden egg was right there in front of you. And you just decide to abandon the nest so that way the hawk over there in that tree can go swoop, get your food right then and there. I don't get it. I don't understand it. At least with someone like James Franklin, as much shit as I talk about James Franklin, I gotta give you credit, you bald-headed fuck. You at least stayed. You at least waited out the process. You almost got a shot at the national championship. There were only 2 things standing in your way. A last-second field goal and Jeremiah Love just running up all over your asses. And at least James Franklin's lined up with an opportunity to turn Virginia Tech around, which I don't doubt that he will. I mean, he won't. I think he will somewhat get them back to their winning ways, especially during the days of Michael Vick. But this is just ridiculous. Why would you abandon a team that is literally locked into a college playoff decision? You could have solidified a legacy with this program. You'd already had 10-win seasons. This is your first 11-win season. You had everything lined up for you, and you're like, nah, fuck it. I'm just go to LSU. Which I have nothing against LSU. All these people that want to sit there and proverbially give Lane Kiffin the blowjob because he's in Baton Rouge now. It's like, no, I'm not falling for the trap. It's ridiculous. You screwed yourself to make a legacy. The possibility of making a legacy for a bigger paycheck for a college program that is struggling to get efficient wins and rather focus on NIL deals to secure bigger talent, as opposed to honing that talent, sharpening the iron to develop a well-oiled college team that hasn't been relevant since Joe Burrow and Ed Orgeron. That's like if I downgrade from a Lamborghini to a beat-up Chevrolet from the 1970s, right? It's just a massive downgrade. I just don't understand it. Like, does the money outweigh the prestige? Seems to be that way in this day and age. But yeah, you really fucked yourself for what? But that's Lane Kiffin for you. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever understand it. The installation of Verge Osberry right as the athletic driver made Kiffin more comfortable with the LSU. Is that really all it takes? Is a personnel shift? Oh, I'm gonna be glad to join this team now that this individual's in there. Was it the money? Oh, I'm definitely going to make more figures despite the fact that I'm on the verge of probably getting bonuses just by automatically qualifying for the playoff anyway because of the expanded format. I don't get it. It's a lose-lose situation, guys. Because I'll give Ole Miss the benefit of the doubt. I think they have a shot at the college playoff. Regardless of how slim it might be, regardless of how talented they are or lack of talent that they have, I'm just going to go off on a whim and say they do have a shot. It's a lose-lose situation. Because if, let's say, Ole Miss does get to the national championship and winds up winning it, congratulations, you screwed yourself out of your own legacy. You screwed yourself out of your own prestige. You screwed yourself out of being named among some of the best coaches, the upper higher echelon of coaches that have been able to say that they can be in the big dance, especially in a conference like the SEC, as prestigious as it is. Stuttering on myself because this is bullshit. And if they don't make it, you are also screwed as well because then it reflects the fact that you were probably the crucial part of them getting to this point to begin with, let alone potentially leading them to the national championship. However way you slice it, I don't care about the politics that go into these moves. I don't care about the power moves. I don't care about the money that goes into this decision. I don't care about any of that internal bullshit. Lane Kiffin screwed Lane Kiffin. And you're not going to convince me otherwise. Let's move on to tonight and tomorrow. So, the big game here for the Group of 5 entry into the college playoff is Tulane and North Texas. Whoever wins that is guaranteed a shot. I personally am rooting for North Texas, but I wouldn't be mad if Tulane won it. Excuse me. I wouldn't be mad about it. I don't mind either school. I'm just glad North Texas is getting the recognition that it deserves. What are the odds on this one? What do we got? Odds. Nope.
Class?
Shut the fuck up. Do we got any odds? Nope. We don't. We don't got any odds. We could go to ESPN. Let's go to ESPN. Yeah. ESPN. No, not the NFL scores. Here we go. There we go. Alright. UNT 58%. That's fair. I think that's pretty fair. Because both teams are practically even at this point. But Tulane, I think, has had much stiffer competition than North Texas, but North Texas has had more consistency. As you can see right here. Mestamaker, 29 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Not bad. Retzlaff, we got 14 for 6. That's not the best in the world. It's not bad, but it's not good either. But yeah, that would be a good game. That would be a good one. A little bit of a sleeper here in the group of 5 in case shit absolutely hits the fan. We got James Madison going up against Troy. Troy's always had a good program. JMU at 91% is accurate, though. JMU has just been pretty dominant as of late, and I think they've had a better strength of schedule than Tulane or North Texas. Quarterback play ain't that good. However, it does seem like they're more run-oriented, so they might have to rely on that. BYU and Texas Tech. Things could get just a little wonky here if BYU wins. I don't doubt that Texas Tech has a spot in the playoffs. I think even if they lose, they're still going to make the college playoff due to their record. 66%, I'm going to give them 60 because BYU could capitalize on opportunities here, and they could really wreck some shit if they really wanted to. So I'm personally rooting for BYU, but if Texas Tech wins, I'm not going to be upset about it. I don't mind either school here. Up next, we have Georgia and Alabama. This is going to be Alabama at 51%. I'll take it. Georgia could win this game as long as they pace themselves, stay disciplined, and get pressure on the quarterback. Congratulations, Georgia. You have won the SEC title. But given Kirby Smart's record against Bama, being able to not just get ahead early, but stay there. That is the biggest issue with Georgia, especially dealing with tight competition like this. It almost bit them in the ass against Ole Miss, and it almost bit them in the ass against Tennessee, where they'll have this string where they start finding their rhythm left and right. They get plays left and right, back and forth. They play both sides of the ball. And then the next half hits, or the next quarter, and they just start winding down just ever so slightly to the point where the other team is now sniffing a victory. Georgia, come out fast and hard, stay consistent, and stay disciplined. I'm going to have Georgia in this by 3 points. Next big game up, number 1, number 2. Ohio State, Indiana. It's almost 50-50, and you know what? I agree with this. A slight edge to Indiana. Indiana, probably one of the best offenses in college football. Ohio State, one of the best defenses in college football. As you see from these past few games, 9 points, 9 points, 10 points, 10 points, 14 points. And then it's a healthy mix here. Of course, they had that trap game against Penn State at Penn State, so it's no surprise that ended in a 3 games. We talked about it on the previous podcast with Dude making one of the greatest picks ever, or catches. But yeah, this is going to be an absolute bloodbath. Indiana could win this. They gotta just, when in doubt, air it out. That's all I gotta say. And Ohio State, get pressure on the quarterback, get the run game going, you're gonna win this. Now, it's the ACC championship. Okay? Now, before I talk about this, let's look at those rankings again. Let's see some of these teams. Miami at number 12. Virginia, the ones that are competing in the championship game, number 17. Then you got Georgia Tech, number 22. So you would think it'd be Miami or Georgia Tech going up against Virginia. But wait a minute. Hold the phone. Virginia's going up against Duke? 7-5 Duke? No, this can't be right. This couldn't be right. This couldn't be right. Oh, it is right. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe, but this is exactly right. Let's take a look at something here. Standings. Take a look at the standings here for a moment. It'll shed some light. Hell, here we go. ACC right here. So, in the conference, Virginia 7-1. Miami 6-2. Look at that 5-way tie right there. Miami, Florida, Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh, SMU, and Duke. Duke struggled in their opening games. They lost to Tulane. I think they lost to Illinois as well. And then they lost to another school that I can't remember off the top of my head. But they're 6-2 in the conference. Mind you, these two teams, Miami and Georgia Tech, are ranked. It would be diabolical. It would be, Iceman. I agree. Pitt and SMU, they were ranked. How did Duke get in there? Well, let's find out. How did Duke... Why was the first result, how did Chris Henry die? Here we go. By winning a complicated 5-way tiebreaker for second place in the conference, primarily because of their conference opponents had the best combined win percentage, allowing them to advance over teams like Miami, Georgia Tech, SMU, and Pitt, despite having the most overall losses. Their spot was secured after they beat Wake Forest and SMU lost to California in the final week. The tiebreaker scenario. Duke's conference foes had a 500 record, better than Miami's, Georgia Tech's, SMU, and Pitt's. The combined winning percentage of conference opponents. So basically what they're saying here is that Duke had, if you combine all the opponents that they faced against each other in the conference, their winning percentage total was better than all the others. Because while, yes, Duke struggled a lot, their only two losses in the conference were Virginia and Georgia Tech. Both are ranked, which automatically should rule them out. If we're talking likewise opponents, we're talking 0-2 here, whereas SMU was, I think, 1-0. So you would think that they would get in, but everybody was just so busy eating themselves alive in that conference that it led to this happening. Now, nope. I revealed too much information. Hang on. Yeah, I looked up too much. Yeah, it happens. It fucking happens. Explaining the conundrum. Here's what needs to happen. So this is from Ann Snyder of Star News Online. So, here's the dilemma, right? I'm trying to look shit up here as I go. But the dilemma is this. Like, if they earned it legit, good for them. Good for them. I wish Duke nothing but the best. But let's take a look back here at these. Let's take a look at these. The worst that happened here, this matchup right here between North Texas and Tulane doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Either way, one of those teams is getting a spot, no doubt about it. James Madison could get a spot here. But what happens? What happens if Duke winds up winning and James Madison here winds up losing? Because if James Madison wins, they could see themselves in a potential spot. If Virginia wins, throw everything out the window. Virginia wins, nothing happens. It's all secured right then and there. But what happens if Duke wins and James Madison lose? Think about that for a moment. Because James Madison wins, no matter what happens, like, if Duke winds up winning, they're probably going to be in the playoff. James Madison, I mean. Duke wins, James Madison's in. But if James Madison somehow loses, which I don't think is going to happen based on those odds, we're going to get chaos. It's going to be absolute chaos. Absolute fuckery. But we're not going to know until all that shit goes down. And we're gonna talk about it. After everything gets settled, I am going to do a Berserk and Nasty podcast on Selection Day. Make sure you guys are on the lookout for that. Tomorrow might be VR chat. I'm thinking about it. VR chat's probably going to be the best alternative after all the shit that happens here. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. We might be in for the most chaotic bowl season in college history. But a lot needs to happen beforehand. And I'm going to be here for it. And we're going to cover it on the podcast. If you guys are interested in this and would like to see even more, make sure you subscribe. Notifications on. It's going to short stream going. Sorry about that, guys. And we'll be back to our regularly scheduled mayhem in due time.